All right. So just give a minute while everyone gets logged in. So cute.
All right. Looks like everybody's in.
Yeah, I think we just have one more coming. So, Sam, do you want to mute everyone once they all get signed in? And then we'll open it up again for questions a little later.
Sure. Okay. So everyone should be muted. Okay, let's get started. So thanks for coming, everybody, to the First Time Homebuyers webinar. So my name is Sam Thompson. I work with Joe Bloddick. I'm a local mortgage agent, and we're joined with Nickey, who is a local real estate agent.
Hi, guys.
So yeah, so in the chat, we have the agenda for the meeting. So first of all, I'm going to start talking first and take you through the mortgage process, things to expect, all of that. Then Nickey's going to take over and take you guys through what the real estate process is like, and then we're going to open it up to question and answer period. So as both of us are presenting, if you guys have any questions, feel free to just hold on to them and write them in the chat. And then when we open up to the Q&A section, we can go through everyone's questions and open it up to that discussion there. And yes, so stick around because at the end we have a really fun prize for everyone to sign up for. We'll talk about that a bit later, but it'll be in the chat in the end as well. So stick around for that. Yeah, so I will share my screen and we can get started. Okay. So everyone can see that. Good.
Looks great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so welcome guys to the First Time Home Buyers webinar. So I'm going to be going through what the mortgage process looks like, how to get a mortgage, a lot of the common mistakes that we see people come in to get their first mortgage, how to beat the stress test. Of course, we're going to cover some of the grants and incentives that you guys can qualify for to get money back during the process. How to find a down payment, and then of course we'll round off with what the first time home buyer incentive is and how to qualify for that. So just a little bit about me. So myself as well as Joe, we're licensed with all banks and lenders. We work for Verico Mega Mortgages, and yeah, I specialize mainly in first time home buyers. Joe handles way more of like investment properties, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty well rounded. So we should start off with a case study. So again, as you're seeing some of the details of this couple that came in, just kind of log if some of it sounds familiar. So they came to our seminar a while ago. They only had $1,400 in the bank. They didn't know what their credit score was, and their household income was about $65,000. So what ended up happening with that? So just months after coming to our seminar, back when we were doing them in person, they moved into their home with mortgage payments of only $499 biweekly. So this is just proof that the system works. The webinars help. We cover a lot of great information, and our biggest goal is to get you guys into your first home and really avoid some of the small things you may not know that can trip you up in getting a mortgage. So you're probably wondering from this where you start. So getting pre-approved is the biggest thing that we can advocate from this webinar. It's such an important step, and it really starts you in the process with a smart step forward and to get more realistic about buying your first home. So why would you get pre-approved? So it avoids disappointment and speeds up the process. So what we can do is actually give you a realistic and accurate number of what you can qualify for in your mortgage, so that when you approach a real estate agent, when you chat with Nickey, you actually have an idea of, okay, this is the houses that I can actually afford, rather than potentially looking for homes that are 10 to 20,000 out of your budget. You don't want to fall in love with a home that you then find out you can't afford. So it speeds up that process, and you know what to expect. It also presents a stronger offer. So once you get pre-approved with us, it's a really quick process. We'll actually give you a pre-approval certificate, and that generally goes a long way with the seller, because it shows that you've done the back work for it, you've done the homework, you're serious about buying a home. So it presents a stronger offer. And a real big benefit, especially with rates as low as they currently are, it can hold your rate for 30, 60, 90, up to 120 days. So you can keep the low rate when you get pre-approved, in case we start to see the rates begin to rise. So these are the banks that Joe and myself work with: Scotiabank, TD, First National. Some of them you may know, some of them you may not know. But the benefit with this is that as well as having a more varied option of what we can get you mortgage wise, you can also see that some of them are maybe banks that you bank with yourself. If you would like to stay with your current provider, you're not stuck. You're not stuck to what you bank with currently, but we can find you other deals as well. So how do you get pre-approved? So a lot of the times it starts with a text. We have a sign-up sheet as well that has calendar booking to start that call. And it can be done completely virtually. So we aren't really affected too much by COVID with this process, because generally it always happened, on the phone, over text. We can do it all on email if you'd like, Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, basically any social media software, we can do it. And all you need to bring to it is going to be a pay stub and your photo ID. And then once we chat through what some of the process looks like, then you can start sending us documents on email or fax. But yeah, most of the process is done completely virtually, and we never actually have to meet in the pre-approval process. So let's just talk about why Canadians use brokers. So this example looks funny, but it's actually really accurate. So both myself and Joe are quite tall, so we find it pretty difficult to find shirts that fit. Sometimes it fits on the shoulders, but then you're swimming in it. Other times it fits a little tighter, and you're stuck wearing a crop top like the poor individual on the right. So Canadians use mortgage brokers to find mortgages that fit. So what we can do is we can actually give you more access, access to just more products than what your current bank may be able to provide you with. We're also, across all the banks that we do lending with, we actually only use one credit check. So if you went to each individual bank, they would do a hard credit pull each time you want to get that evaluated. But going with a mortgage broker, it's just one hit, and then that is valid across all of our lenders. Buyers having a unique story. This is a big one, because we all know that everyone has a different story in getting to their first home. So what we can do is actually we can actually advocate on your behalf to get a mortgage with the current lender. Just as an example, back in March, before all the COVID stuff happened, we had a customer who came to us who had some poor credit, a few years ago. So it came up as kind of a black mark on his credit history. So he came to us, and what we were able to do is actually communicate to the lender that at that time he was only a seasonal worker, and since then he had become a permanent full-time staff. And what we saw was that actually the next day he got fully pre-approved. So in those small areas where a bank may be more likely to just deny you a mortgage, we can actually explain your scenario and help to get you the mortgage that you're looking for. So also, there's a varied amount of mortgages that you can apply for, that you can get, such as new build, renovation, if you want to flip your home, short-term mortgages, any of that. Chatting with us, we can really customize what mortgage you get and really pick the best one that fits with what your scenario is and also what you're looking for. So there's actually a study done as well of who saves a client more money, a broker or just going with your institutional lender. So what the study showed is that brokers on average save their clients about $42 a month. So that worked out to about $1.50 a day. So how me and Joe like to advocate it is that we basically buy you one Timmy's coffee every weekday of the week because the prices have gone up. But if you sign with us and you love coffee, it's a win-win. We'll buy you one every single day. So now that we've established the difference between the banks and brokers, we'll just take a quick look at what a lot of the mistakes that we see people come into the office with, that some of them they don't even know that they've made. So mistake number one is going to be ignoring your credit score. It's always a great key to getting your mortgage is to understanding, what goes into a credit score, what your current score is, how to improve your credit score. So you don't want to get stuck with a bad rate because of your credit or just not knowing what it is. So a lot of the mobile banks now and sites like Credit Karma, they allow you to check what your credit score is. The one that we do will be a little more thorough, so it may be a little bit different, but that's a great place to start, just to know where your credit scenario is at before approaching a broker. So also, if you have gone through a bankruptcy or consumer proposal, be sure to follow the 222 rule. So many banks will not lend you a mortgage until you have at least 2 credit cards for 2 minimum years with a $2,000 balance. So if that is your scenario, that's going to be the best place to start and should be the first spot to start. So just a breakdown of what they consider a good credit score. So anything over 630, there really shouldn't be an issue in getting a mortgage. Anything in the 700s, you're fine. And then anything below that, they'll consider a weak or a poor credit score. So with that, we can work with you to either build your credit score, find ways to increase it, or even go with a B lender if you wouldn't normally qualify at an institutional bank. So the breakdown of what goes into calculating a credit score is you're going to see on the graph here, the biggest one is credit history. So that is just the length of time that you've had that credit card. So if you're still holding on to some credit accounts from when you were in high school or from years ago that you don't even really use, it's always good to keep those around, because the minute you close that account, you actually lose all of that credit history. So keeping old accounts, it's going to be a great way to help build that score. As well, the second highest is going to be debt owed. So how we like to phrase it is, which of these options sounds better to you? Having a $900 balance on a $1,000 credit card, or a $900 balance on a $10,000 credit card? So they're going to look at having a $900 balance on a $10,000 credit score as much better, because it's showing that you're using less of your potential credit amount. So 900 on a $1,000 card is going to show you've used 90% of your credit, and that's actually going to affect your credit score. So if you can trust yourself with a higher limit and they offer you that higher limit, definitely take it. It can help increase your score. Mistake number 2 that we see is not reviewing your options. So there's lots of different rates out there, different lenders, penalty calculations, and ways to pay. So when you chat with us, we can really help review, what mortgage fits best with you, and we can help review options that are going to be relevant to you, because we're not locked in selling, all of the ones that CIBC offers. We can actually customize it to you rather than you trying to fit in with the ones that your bank currently offers. So again, rate options. So is there a difference between 2.84 and 2.99? Yes, there's a massive difference. So it may not seem like a lot, but over the lifetime of your mortgage, it's going to save you about $9,500. So that's actually the same Tim Hortons example from earlier. And right now we're actually seeing rates considerably lower. So again, working with a mortgage broker, we can shave off lots of little costs that you'd end up paying for the length of your mortgage. So also different banks. So again, as I was saying, on one simple credit check, we can have access to all of our different lenders just from that, as well as looking at all the different mortgages that they offer. So some of them have different scenarios, different qualifications, different bonuses. So we can really navigate that for you to find what fits best. Monthly versus bi-weekly for payment options. So a lot of institutional lenders, they're going to push for just doing a monthly basic payments, but we're actually going to look at the difference of how much you can save just by going with a biweekly option. So as you can see in the chart here, the yellow chart is going to be in biweekly payments, and the blue is going to be the traditional loan payment frequencies that the institutional lenders will, they'll try and sign you up with. So what it actually saves over the course of a mortgage, you save a ton on interest fees. And yes, it's just the better option for saving money and paying off your mortgage faster. So different penalty calculations. So again, we know that life happens and it's not always predictable. So what we can do is actually try and find a mortgage that that doesn't have a hideous, is a good word for it, a hideous penalty calculation, because you don't want to get stuck having to end your term early and then owing a $20,000 penalty. So again, we can address what your situation looks like and really find something that fits with you. Mistake number 3 is borrowing too much. So you don't want to borrow to the extreme max that you end up the term house poor. So we want you to be able to order in from DoorDash, extend your Netflix subscription, whatever you guys are doing in COVID to have fun, but we don't want you to borrow too much and then not end up being able to do anything. And borrowing before you buy. So if you're planning on getting a car, wait until after you get your mortgage, because we can see that having car loan payments, even as low as $400 a month, can pretty heavily affect what you can qualify for. So if you haven't already bought a car that's on loan, save that until you have your mortgage. If you do, don't worry, don't panic. We can look at ways to get around this and get you a mortgage even with that loan. Forgetting about closing costs. So this is a massive thing that some people don't even consider, don't even remember about the house buying process. So we actually have a closing cost worksheet that breaks it down in better detail of what you can expect in transfer taxes and lawyer fees, all that stuff, but it'll be emailed to you after the webinar today. And then mistake number 5 is simple enough, just not getting pre-approved. It really only takes 5 to 30-minute phone conversation with myself or Joe. You really only need an ID and a pay stub. It's completely free, and it can be done completely virtually, and we'll give you a rate hold as well as more of a focused look at what you can afford in getting your first home. Then setting up your buying team is going to be your next big step. So again, Nickey's going to chat more about what the real estate, using a buyer's agent can really benefit you. She'll go more into detail with that. But one thing that we can definitely advocate is always go with a buying agent, because we are going to have your best interest as our first priority. Never rely on a seller's agent, because they're going to have the seller as their primary priority. So we're going to look at a second case study here. So this was in Tavistock, Ontario. So they bought this home for $329,000 with a $16,000 down payment, and their payments were $696 biweekly. So after 5 years, the market value had gone up to $419,000. So they could sell and take $140,000 in equity to their next home in 5 years. So this is just stating like how good of an investment real estate can be. That no other tax-free savings account, none of that is going to give you the same payoff as owning a home and investing in the equity of the home that you're currently living in. So now we're going to get to the fun part where you actually get to get money back, where you save money during the process. It's clearly the best part of the presentation. You can tell I'm even more excited about talking about it. So let's get into it. So the first-time buyers are entitled to a refund of approximately $1,000 if they purchase an energy efficient home. This is also, there is a refund available if you increase the energy efficiency of your home as well. Again, I think we have some of these that'll be sent out in the email with a little bit more details. If not, just reach out to us after and we can get you all that information. So for example, on a $425,000 home with 5% down, that refund would be about $1,100. So Ontario land transfer tax rebate. So this is a big one. So if you're a first-time home buyer, you can qualify for a refund of approximately $4,000 on your land transfer tax if you're in Ontario. So if you do plan on buying within Toronto, they will add an additional $3,700 to that, giving you a total saving of $7,700. But if not, then they will offer you a $4,000 refund. So again, using the same home in the example we used before, that could be a refund of $7,700. So new to Canada benefit. If you are currently new to Canada, if you've been only in the country for 5 years or under, there's actually a lot of things put in place to make it easier for you to qualify for a mortgage. So they've reduced the employment requirements for new Canadians to only 3 months, and there's no credit score required. So all you would need for that is going to be, they'll look at your bank statements, insurance statements, and phone bills to get that. So again, reach out to us if you are new to Canada, and we can point you in the direction of how to take advantage of this incentive. So the HST rebate. So if you're planning on buying a new build home from a builder, or you're building it yourself, you can apply for this HST rebate. It does, I believe, take about 6 or so months to actually get that rebate. But using the same example, the $425,000 home, that rebate could work out to be about $33,000 if you're planning on buying a new build or building a home yourself. Tax credit available to first-time home buyers. So when you buy your first home, there is an income tax credit that you can sign up for to get you $5,000 back. So for an example, if a household had a household income of $85,000, that works out to about $2,100 back into your pocket. Free 1-year home warranty available to first-time home buyers. So some of the lenders that we work with, they do offer a free 1-year home warranty available if you're a first-time home buyer. That covers home heating, air conditioning, electrical, water heater, and plumbing. So, you know, using Murphy's Law, if anything's going to go wrong, it'll be in the first year that you buy your home. So it's a really great system to take advantage of, and it covers up to $10,000 with no inspection required. So you can actually withdraw if you're having trouble getting your down payment. You can withdraw from your RRSP completely tax-free. So they've actually increased the limit to $35,000 per person, or $50,000 per couple, completely tax-free. So in doing that, you're actually going to save an additional $21,000 just in tax from withdrawing from that account. So to qualify for that one, you just have to be a first-time home buyer, a person with a disability, buying a home for someone with a disability, or just not to have owned any property within the last 4 full calendar years. So how to get a down payment, even if you don't already have one. So time and time again, Joe and I see people come through the office with, you know, a great job, great income, great credit. The only thing they're missing is that down payment to get over the hump of getting into the house. So what is available in all of these municipalities you see on the screen is they all have municipal grants. So these are to, again, help you get into a home by providing you a down payment. A lot of them are forgivable loans that if you live in it for 20 years or more, then it actually is completely forgivable. You don't owe anything on it. So again, it's another thing to be aware of and to look for when you're trying to find that down payment money. Other ways of getting a down payment is going to be to access a line of credit for it. There are some rent-to-own programs that are available, gifted equity from the seller, money back, cashback mortgages, or even just family giving money towards it. So in total, looking at all of these savings and looking at what you could potentially save, we're looking at $52,000 in savings just from taking advantage of these, you know, grants and incentives that are fully available and free for everyone to apply for, that they just may not know is there. So again, working with us, we'll navigate all that. I don't expect you to remember the laundry list of things that I just told you. The point is that we know them, and we can really suit them to what you can qualify for, and really speed the process up to get your mortgage and get you all the money that you qualify for. So now we're going to go through what the first-time home buyer incentive is. It's the name of the webinar. It's why you guys are all here. So how does it work? So it enables first-time home buyers to reduce their monthly mortgage payments without increasing their down payment. So what the incentive is it offers 5% down, or if it's a new build, it'll be 5% to 10 or 10% for the down payment. So let's look at just a side-to-side case scenario here. So without the first-time home buyer's incentive, the mortgage insurance premium is going to be at $16,000. So again, all the other credentials are the exact same, just the one on the right has used the first-time home buyer incentive. So in using it, you save close to $5,000 in mortgage insurance premium. So the difference in monthly payments, it's going to save you, or it could save you $123 a month, or in yearly costs, $1,400. So what properties are eligible? So any new construction or resale home, duplex, triplex, fourplex, townhouses, basically anything that Nickey can find you will most likely be eligible under the first-time home buying incentive. So just ask us when we're going through the pre-approval to see if it's a smart decision or if it's something that you qualify for. So in order to apply, you must have a maximum household income of $120,000, and the maximum mortgage amount you can get is going to be 4 times what your household income is. And one of the house owners must be a first-time home buyer. Also available to Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and non-permanent residents who are authorized to work in Canada. So just to round off on that, so it is a shared equity loan. So how it works is if you qualify for a down payment, you can apply for this incentive and have the government cover, your 5% down, or if it's a new build, 5 or 10% down. And even on top of that, you can still add your own funds to increase your down payment. So because they do want you to still be making CMHC insurance payments, it is locked at, it has to be under a 20% down. So what we have seen one person do is, the government supplied the 5% and then they added 14.99% of their own fund to keep it under the 20% and increase their down payment as much as they could. So if you would like to win your down payment, we talked about this before. I'm going to actually add it in the chat now. So as a thank you, we're going to send out a link in the chat, and all you have to do is sign up for it, and we will send out just corner store scratch tickets, but they have prizes of up to $10,000. So if you sign up and you do win, what a great way to win your down payment. It saves the last 5 minutes of my presentation. You don't even have to worry about it. So I'm going to add that in the chat now. So thank you for listening to me. Again, if you didn't catch all of that, don't worry. Just reach out to us. We can do pre-qualification call or a pre-approval call, and really just get you as informed as possible to make the best steps. So either of those numbers on the screen work. As well, we'll be sending a follow-up email with a link to book a pre-approval call with us. So thank you guys, and I will kick it over to Nickey.
All right, awesome. Okay, so I am Nickey Calford. I am a real estate broker here in London, and I'm going to share my screen. We're going to start off with my presentation. All right. Maybe slowly. All right, here we go. Okay, so as I said, I'm Nickey Calford. I am a real estate broker here in London. I have been in the business for close to 20 years. I started out flipping houses and have been going strong ever since. So we'll go through a little bit about that. When I'm not selling real estate, I am on the ski hill usually all winter with my daughter. We do ski patrol, and so if we're ever out and have any shocking, interesting things that we find out, don't worry, you're covered. I've got you covered with advanced first aid. So last year, we ended up winning top faculty trainer. So I do a lot of training across Ontario for other real estate agents. And I was #1 for closed volume in our office, as well as units sold. And I was also the double gold medal winner for Keller Williams International. So a little bit about me. All right, so you guys can put this in the chat. We'll kind of raise your hands if your video's on. We can kind of see it that way as well. But what percentage of the global population are millionaires? Does anyone have a guess? Is it 1.1, 3.7, or 5.2? You guys are awfully quiet. All right, so if you guessed 1.1, you're right. Not a whole lot of millionaires in the population. All right, so what percentage of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? You guys should all get this one. So is it 78.3%, 82.2%, or 90%? We're going with 90%. So of those very few millionaires, the major majority of them all invest in real estate. Here is a list. So these are all Canadian families. And you can see the Irving family, Greenberg, Aritia family. They all invested in real estate. And you can see the different types. So hotels, real estate investment development, gas stations where they're actually owned the gas stations, not just selling the gas. They're all investing in real estate. So what is the average interest? I'm going to tie all this together just so you know. All right, so what's the average interest on a high interest savings account? Is it 2%, 5%, or 10%? And I want to see your answers, because if anyone's got 10%, I want your bank. Okay, seeing a couple different answers there. All right, so the average interest rate on a high interest savings account is 2%. Anyone that said 5%, I want your bank. If you say I have 10, even more so, that's amazing. But the most I've ever been able to get, they'll do sometimes a special rate of 2.5%, but mostly it's 2%. All right, so let's see where your knowledge is in today's real estate market. How much has the average house in London appreciated in the last 12 months? Is it A, 9%, B, 26%, or C, 13%? I'm going to check this out too. All right, so the answer is actually 13%. When we did this seminar last October and November, we were at 26%. In the last year, we've started to see a little bit of a slowdown, but still 13% is way more than that 2% in your savings account. The really cool thing about this 13% is that when you buy a house and you put 5% down, so let's do really easy numbers. $100,000 house, $5,000 down payment. A year later, that house is now worth $113,000. 13% on 100,000, not 13% on your 5,000 that you put down. So you actually made way more than your 2% if you kept that $5,000 in your high interest savings account, right? You'd make what, 200 bucks, 300 bucks on it? It's not much. So by putting that $5,000 into a real estate home, it's an actual investment. And this is how the millionaires start off. They start off with a small house, then they morph into a rental property, maybe 2, maybe 3. Then it looks into, you know, a sixplex, an apartment building. And eventually once you get to that point, you have 2 or 3 apartment buildings and boom, you're a millionaire, right? It sounds so simple. All we have to do is get you started with one house. So this is the numbers from February and March. We can see, and I want to stress this right now, you guys are in a perfect position. Even though the market has been going up and going up, you're in the perfect position to buy a property and get pre-approved now so that you're ready to jump when these houses start to come up. So I want you to see in February, the total number of new listings was at 686 houses. In March, it went up to 874 new listings. So that's up 12% over the year before. I'm going to show you in April because something happened mid-March and kind of affected the real estate market that made it awesome for you guys. April came, and these are the numbers after COVID hit. The total number of new listings is 472. That's down 52% over last year. The prices haven't gone up extremely in the same extremes that they were going up. Year over year average is only up 8.5%, where it was closer to the 13 in March. I suspect we're going to go back up to that very shortly. But the good thing is, and you're saying, what do you mean? There's less houses for sale. How is this good for us? The great thing is right now there's no inventory. So when we have 20 buyers looking at one house and making an offer on it, 19 of them have to walk away and find something else. When the world starts to open back up, we are going to have more listings. That number of new listings is going to go up. I can say right now, I have 7 clients waiting to list their home. We're looking at the right timing to do that. I'm one of 1,800 agents in the city. If we all have a few listings to go live, that means there's going to be a ton of opportunities. There's going to be a ton of listings available for you. And what that means that is instead of having 20 buyers to every house listed, we'll probably have 5. So maybe you're not competing against 20 other offers and that's not pushing the price up. So how is this great for you guys? It's going to take a little bit of time to get your numbers from working with Joe and Sam to get pre-approved, get them the paperwork, get everything lined up. Then we'll sit and we'll go through our buyer consult and get you set up on a search. So when these properties start to hit the market, you are ready to go. All right, here we have it. So if we look from left to right here, you and your career may be making about $100,000 a year, plus a company bonus. Maybe you and your spouse are up to $150,000. If you save over time, scrimp and save, work with your RSPs and sock money away, you'll maybe get $500,000-600,000 saved away by the time retirement comes. You know, mutual funds, if you're really good with mutual funds and stocks and bonds, you'll maybe save another 500, 400. However, if you're really good. With real estate investments, you don't have to be really good at it. You can buy your home now, live in it, and when you go to sell it at retirement, it'll be worth way more. It'll be paid off. You won't have paid rent to someone else all that time. And it'll be worth close to $1 million. If we look back 35 years ago at the prices houses were, we wish we would have bought then. So this is how we look at it. And this is how those real estate millionaires got there. Real estate cannot be lost or stolen, nor can it be carried away. Purchased with common sense, paid for in full, and managed with reasonable care, it's about the safest investment in the world. I have to agree. Okay, so I'm just going to remind you guys that if you want to click the link that Sam has put in, this is your chance to win your down payment. And we'll send you out those scratch tickets as soon as this is done. But you have to enter to win. Okay, so first-time homebuyers between the ages of 18 and 35 are expected to spend an average of $350,000, according to a BMO Millennial Homebuyer Report, Canada-wide. So almost 1/3 of those surveyed don't think that they'll ever be able to afford a home. Yet 43% of 18 to 24-year-olds expressed that they intended to purchase a home in the next 2 years. Who here is in that boat? We all want to buy a house. We understand now that, you know what? Here's the ticket to becoming a millionaire, plus a scratch ticket to win your down payment to start off. But we all want to get there. We all know that having a house is an investment. So how do we get there? Let's talk about renting versus owning. When you rent, you are building your landlord's wealth. So you're paying their mortgage for them and probably a little bit extra so that they can do repairs and everything else. Your monthly payment will likely increase. So every year there's an increase with what the government sets out, 1.2% or 1.8%, depending on the year. You may be limited on what you can customize. So you can't just, if the kitchen's falling apart, you have to wait till your landlord does something with it. You can't just replace it or repaint the kitchen or replace the bathroom floor or anything like that. You're at the mercy of your landlord. When you own, and if you plan on living in one spot for more than 2 years, it makes sense. So you can lock in your monthly payments. So the payments are always the same amount. You build your own wealth. So you are paying down that debt every month. It's not like rent where it just goes to pay someone else's debt. You have the freedom to customize your living space and design your own outdoor space however you want, right? So you can put a deck out, you can add flower gardens and do all those things that you like to do. If you want to paint your kitchen lime green, you have every opportunity to do that. So how do we get there? Steps to buying your first home. So real estate education, you're here. First-time homebuyer seminars. There's blogs, there's podcasts, there's forums, and we can set you up with clients that have been there. They were in your seminar right like this not long ago that have now purchased and have seen how it works. Contact a mortgage broker. We've made that super easy. Sam's right here. His calendar will be open and available for you guys to book appointments in. And he's going to go through all of the things that he talked about earlier and look at things. So sometimes, you know what, if you're in the middle of a divorce or anything like that, there are different programs for all of that, and they will work with you through all of that. All right, so you're going to find an informed real estate agent. Again, just made this super easy for you. I'm right here. All right, so Sam talked about it when we were looking at different mortgage options. It's really about your goals, long-term and short-term. So if we know that, your goal is to get into a home, build some equity, and take that equity and build it into another house that's maybe you're closer to your dream house, we'll work with that and make sure that, the mortgage payments and the penalties aren't going to outweigh what the benefits are. We're going to get your pre-approval budget. We're going to look at where your preferred area is, what budget you can expect for the homes that you have, what purchasing a private sale looks like, what purchasing direct from a builder. We work with the direct knowledge of throughout the transaction. My job as your real estate agent is to study the numbers that I showed you a little earlier. We look at those numbers on a daily basis. We read what the market is doing, and we know how to negotiate on your behalf. So knowing that we're going to have a shortage of homes right now during COVID-19, and that it's going to expand. And what will happen with prices and competition is what our job is to do. We negotiate on your behalf. We also want to guide you down that trail so that you make informed decisions and know exactly what you're getting into as you're doing it. All right. So the next step is we then start searching for properties. There's all these steps here. Some of them go really, really quick. Some of them go really fast, like lightning speed. And sometimes we start over at the top and go again. Once, when we're in bidding wars, sometimes that happens. So if you're one of the 19 people that bid and didn't get the home, we then start over and make sure you get there. The one thing I do know, and I repeat it over to my clients, is that the right house comes for the right price at the right time. And if we lose out on one, it means there's a better one coming. And I can't tell you how many times my clients have said back to me, "You were right. I remember you saying it in the seminar." The right house would come at the right time. And we are so thankful we lost out on that other one, because this is the right, perfect house for us. So this was my first house. On the right, or on the left, sorry, it didn't look like very much when I bought it. The carpet was falling apart. It disintegrated in my hands as I pulled it up. There were crack pipes in the kitchen sink, and bottle totes in a pile in the 4-foot high grass in the backyard. It wasn't great. This toilet wasn't attached to the plumbing underneath the house. It just kind of drained under the house. It was horrible. So with a lot of sweat equity and about $2,000 in materials, I was able to turn it around. Looked a little bit better on the right-hand side when I was done. And I sold it a year later and made a profit of $11,000. So with that $11,000 in equity, I rolled it into the next house and the next house and the next house. And 22 houses later, here I am. And I have 4 rental properties as well. So you can do it. It takes a little bit of time. I think the one thing we have to understand is the best time to buy real estate was 10 years ago. The second best time to buy real estate is today. So getting started is where you need to be. It may not be your dream house, but it will get you started to build equity a lot faster than what you can save money for. All right, so these guys, again, they were in our first time home buyer seminars a couple years ago. The guys on the left, they bought the house for $191,000. Monthly payments of $1,005, and that's with 5% down. They were renting for $1,275 a month. So let's look at that. They're paying down the debt and gaining equity. They're saving money every month by paying an actual lower than rent amount. And their property was gaining in value. So when they actually resold this property a year and a half after this, and they sold it for $285. So they took almost $100,000 and put it into their next property that was much closer to their dream house. All right, so the next guys, they bought the house. It was a semi, 243. Payments were $1,075 with 5% down. And again, they were renting for $1,360 a month. They're building equity by paying down their own debt. The property is going up in value and they're paying less in rent every month. 3 great reasons to own your own home. So these guys moved into condos. The guys on the left, monthly payments were $948. Clients were renting for $1,025. So that was monthly payments with the mortgage payment and the condo fees. So they were still less money a month. Monthly payments on the right-hand side, $1,186, and clients were renting for $1,200. So right now, to find a 3-bedroom rental in a decent area of town it's hard to find anything for under $1,400 to $1,500 a month. And when we can look at trying to get you into some of these properties at the same amount, you're going to be building equity, paying down your debt, and the property values are going up. There we go. I've said it quite a few times already, but just to be clear, this is why you buy a property now. All right, so today's market, and I literally looked this one up today. It's on Hume Street in London. Cute little house, 2+1 bedrooms. It's listed for $323,500. And if we looked at a 3% interest rate, which is higher than what we think we can probably get right now at the 2.3%, you're looking at $1,381 a month with 5% down. That's equivalent to most rentals, and yet you own this property. All right, so active in today's market, we have 45 condos and 13 houses listed under 300,000. We have 3 condos and 29 houses listed between 300 and 350. That's 90 properties under 350,000. A year ago at this time, we were probably looking at 200 to 300 houses in that same price point. Why is this good? Because there's going to be more. That inventory is going to explode soon when we all start listing these properties that have been waiting. So we can get you pre-approved now and ready to look at everything else later. So many of us are now living to the age of 100. And if those people retire at 65, they're facing a 35-year retirement. Just to live on the poverty line, you're going to need to have $645,000. Who thinks right now that they can do that with no problem in the next 35 years? I don't even think I could do it, honestly. All right, so Canadians on average said that they believe they need at least $908,000 for a decent retirement. And that's even more in Alberta and British Columbia. So how do we get you there? We get you into a house. All right, so with home inspections, what do they look like? What do they cost? What do they go over? So it's a virtual inspection. They're going to take and look at everything mechanical. So the panel, the plumbing, the attic and insulation, how the roof is looking, and all of those things. It's one of the steps we use, and sometimes we'll use a pre-inspection before an offer date to get you guys into a home and understand what you're getting into. When I bought my first house, I didn't know the toilet wasn't attached to the plumbing. I don't want you in that position ever again. So we'll take my experiences from the 22 houses that I've gone through, and we want to put that through with you guys. So when we can do a home inspection, we're going to make sure that you guys have an idea of exactly what you're getting into so that you're not ending up house poor later on, and that you're free to do DoorDash and have dinners in and all those sorts of things too. So we want to make sure you're fully covered. All right. So again, you guys can click into the comments and enter to win your down payment, and hopefully then that's another big step to getting into your first house, and it'll be awesome. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and constantly having different tips and tricks and different things that are coming out in the community as well. All right, so Sam, do you want to open it up for questions?
Yeah, that sounds great. Great presentation, by the way. It was had a lot of good information for getting into that first home and what the real estate process looks like.
All right. Okay, so if we have any questions, you're welcome to unmute your line or write it out in the chat box as well. All right, so Sam, there's a bunch of questions here from Jenny. Do you want to go with them?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first one here, so why would someone opt to work with a bank over a broker? Is a fantastic question. It's the reason we're having this presentation. So some people do get specific benefits for the just comfortable using the bank that they're currently with in terms of flexibility and what we can offer. It does make more sense to use us because essentially we're working for you. We have your best interest at heart and can get you exactly what you would qualify for.
So does getting pre-approved affect my credit at all?
So it does require a hard credit check. So it will affect your credit score, but not by much. I believe it's like 5 points maybe. So it's not a hard hit. It will be just the one though across all lenders versus going to different lenders for getting a credit check. And it says, can we repeat the 222 rule? So the 222 rule is in place for so anyone who's gone through a consumer proposal or bankruptcy. So in order to like prove that you've reestablished yourself in your credit, the banks will want to see that you've had 2 credit cards with a $2,000 balance for 2 years. So again, if you're in the process of continuing to pay off a consumer proposal, reach out to us with, how much is left on that, as well as what the release date is. And we can work with you to, maybe get that paid off sooner and get yourself building better credit so that you can qualify for a better mortgage.
So Jenny asked, when did I buy my first home? What year was it? So I bought it when I was 21, just, a couple of years ago, or 2001, one of the two, whatever's younger. All right.
She's also asking, be eligible for the first time home buying incentive. Do you have to have 5% saved and the incentive matches the other 5%? So yes, you do have to have the minimum down payment in your fund. It doesn't mean that you have to use it. So again, the benefit of going with this incentive is that you actually don't have to put anything into it. They will cover the 5% down. If you want to increase your down payment, then that can be added to the 5% provided by the incentive. Great question.
So Sam, can you borrow some of the 5% down payment?
So like to get any mortgage, yes, if it's through a line of credit or gifted from a family, even if it's a family loan, and then you end up paying them back later, all of those work. If you are applying for the first time home buying incentive, I know that you can't use a line of credit as your down payment source to use the first time home buying incentive. But I believe that that's what you're asking. But yes, to get the 5% down, it can be on a line of credit. Good question.
Okay, so Nathan asks for pre-approvals. And this was the 222 rule. And I think he answered it. I don't think it has to be for all pre-approvals though, correct?
Yeah, so you don't have to have that for all pre-approvals. That's only if you are coming out of a consumer proposal or bankruptcy, just to let the lender know that you've reestablished your credit. Yeah, and to start building that credit. But again, to be pre-approved, you don't have to have 2 credit cards.
All right, and so Khaled has, how do COVID-19 layoff situations affect the pre-approval? That's a great question.
That is a really good question. So what we're seeing, some lenders are, some of them are fully like accepting the pre-approval with a letter from where, like if you're currently laid off at the moment, if you have a letter saying, you know, Sam will be back on this date, resuming, you know, this pay and full time, then they'll accept that even though you're currently not working. Some of them, they just do require a letter from your employer stating that you will be returning to work.
All right. How about how much money shall we put aside for closing costs on average?
Yeah, so you're gonna have to have lawyer fees as well as the like with the land transfer tax, again, getting that rebate can actually save you that upfront if you get that rebate before you actually pay for it. So again, with an appraisal and lawyer fees, I mean, you can weigh in on this as well, Nickey, but I'd say, you know, anywhere 1,500.
Yeah, we try and look at saving 1.5%, but usually we end up coming in a little bit less than that, depending on how much the lawyer is that you pick, or you know, what other fees have to be involved in there, whether there is home inspection or appraisal fees or anything else like that. But it's usually about 1.5%. So if you save that, you may have a little left over to go for dinner the next day. So,
Exactly.
all right. So can getting 10% paying, can getting 10% prevent paying insurance after monthly mortgage?
So I'm assuming that's referring to the CMHC mortgage insurance. So that is actually anything below 20%. So again, if you're using the incentive, they do have a maximum limit of 20%, so that you do still have to make those payments. But for the CMHC insurance on your mortgage that you'd have to pay would be anything below 20%. If that's what you're at. I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, so we've got, I was told down payment as a first time buyer must be my account for at least 6 months. Is that true?
Yes, so you do have to have your down payment available for time before getting your actual mortgage, or at least yes, yeah, you do have to have it in for at least 6 months.
Okay.
Please elaborate more on the first time home buying incentive. Yeah, so just some quick points about it. So your maximum household income can't exceed 120,000, as well as your borrowing amount can't exceed 4 times whatever your household income is. So then it's a shared equity loan. So the incentive would provide you with 5% down. So then at the end of your mortgage, or at any point in between while you're paying your mortgage off, they will require that 5% back. So because it's a shared equity loan, if your house you know, gains equity by the end of the mortgage, they will take, you know, 5% of whatever that sale price is, not 5% of the original. So if the equity increases, their portion of payback increases as well, because it's shared. If you know, get lower somehow than what you had bought it for, they would share with that loss as well. But it is a shared equity loan. So again, it's a good incentive if you know you can foresee yourself to be able to pay it off before the end of your mortgage, just save in paying that back later. The sooner you can get that paid off, the less of a hit it'll be to pay back that incentive.
All right, so next one's for me. What percentage of the market in London St. Thomas area is 200 or less? And I used to be able to say there were quite a few homes under 200,000. Unfortunately, we are not seeing very many. I think you can get a condo for, there's a few of them around for 150,000 up to 180. Most of them have already pushed up over the 200 mark as well. So there's very few, even when it goes to St. Thomas, there's still a lot of demand out there. So we're not seeing a ton of properties under 200 anywhere in the London St. Thomas region. They do still pop up sometimes. I know there's a few apartment condos on Mornington that do have, they're at that 135 to 150 price point. But I will say the last one I showed in that building, there were cockroaches. So there's that, you know, is it better off just to save a little bit more and get into a better property, one that you feel safe in and one that will gain equity as well. So part of my job is to kind of walk you through that. I'm going to give you the opportunities. Your decision to move forward on one is good. As long as you have all the proper information, I'll support you to get you to your goal. But sometimes we'll walk into a property and you'll have love goggles on and be like, oh, this is the best property ever. And I'm going to be like, okay, but you see this beam in the basement that's not really good and the structure may fall down. We need to have some, you know, people look at this and make sure that you're not buying a lemon that's going to fall apart on you. So my job is to support you in that, but to also make sure that you're buying what's going to suit your long-term goals that we set out for you. All right. Okay, so how long is a pre-approval valid for, Sam?
Yes, so that's it can be anywhere from 60 to 120 days. Typically, there's 60 to 90 days that they're valid for.
All right, and minimum credit score that you need to get a mortgage?
So there's, you know, not technically anything over, you know, 630, 640, you're going to be okay to get one. Anything lower than that, we can always go with an alternative lender to work with you. It is kind of case to case with the lenders, but again, you know, anything above 630, 640, it's workable for sure. There's a question about OSAP. Can OSAP affect your approval in any way? So we actually don't see OSAP loans being that much of an effect because they are pretty lenient of extending, reducing time periods to repay it. So OSAP doesn't really have a big hit. A student line of credit would hurt your maximum buying, but you know, OSAP, we don't really see it affecting too much.
All right, so how much?
Khaled is asking.
Yeah, how much is a broker fee and is it paid?
Yes, so if you get funded with an institutional lender, we actually don't charge a broker fee. We get considered a finder's fee from the lender that we provide the mortgage through. So you actually don't pay us anything. You can see it as we work for free because the bank then pays us for getting the mortgage approved. So there's no actual broker fee in using a mortgage agent.
So it's kind of the same thing when you work with a buyer's agent for real estate. We get paid by the seller. It's already negotiated in their listing amount. So instead of going to, if you see a listing out available, you're driving by and you see that sign, when you call that listing agent, their job is to get that seller the most amount of money possible. As your buyer agent, my job is to get you the house you want for the least amount of money possible. There's a bit of a conflict of interest there if you're working for both buyer and seller. So it doesn't cost you anything to work with someone that has your best interests involved. And at the forefront. So that's one of the things that we always recommend. Have someone that's going to work on your behalf with your best interests.
There's another question here of also, must I open joint accounts with my spouse towards the mortgage deposit? I don't believe you do. I can clarify that and get back to you, but I don't believe you need to have joint accounts with your spouse to be considered for the mortgage deposit. And Addie's asking here, he's planning to buy a house in early 2021, which is the best time to get a pre-approval. So what we can do is work with you to get a pre-qualification done, which is, it's not the same. It's not a pre-approval, but it can give you an idea of what you qualify for so that we can start the conversation to, see where you can make improvements, where you can increase your credit, any of that kind of stuff. So pre-qualification call, definitely, we can get it done as soon as possible. With getting a pre-approval, maybe a bit closer to the date, because it does have a limit on like within what time frame you're trying to get that full mortgage. You don't want to, sign a pre-approval, it expire, you have to get another one before getting your mortgage. So again, just reach out to us to get a pre-qualification, and then within a few months of deciding to start looking, that's a great time to get pre-approved. How about employment history? Does it affect your pre-approval? Yes. So most of the lenders are going to require that you have work history for about 2 years. So we'll need work history as well as residency, like where you've lived for the past 2 years, in order to have your pre-approval submitted. What about first-time home buyers who are self-employed? We know that we need 2 years of business background information minimum to buy a home. Will we still be able to access all the benefits and grants? Sorry, I just need to read that one more time just to get a handle. Yeah, I mean, I guess as long as you have the 2 years of experience to get pre-approved, you would still qualify for the first-time home buyer incentive. It just, the only thing that is a requirement for the first-time home buying incentive is just what your total household income is. It can be self-employed or not, as well as for all the benefits and grants. A lot of them are just in being a first-time home buyer qualifies you for that. Yeah, I think I answered your question. It's a good one, but yeah. Another question here. Can you talk about credit score and usage of credit under mistake number 1? Credit score and usage of credit. Yeah, so again, that was just a breakdown of what goes into creating your credit score, ways to increase that. So again, any late payments are going to negatively affect your credit score. Again, the usage I was talking about is probably, so it's a good rule of thumb to keep under 35% of your credit maximum used. I mean, if you don't, it's not the end of the world, but that is going to get you, the best credit score if you can keep it below 35%. So if they can increase your limit, taking that will increase your credit score, as well as having different ways of credit, if that makes sense. So having, credit cards and line of credits, that kind of stuff can also increase your credit score. Just having, a varied range of where that's coming from versus, just having one credit card. I hope that answers the question.
All right, so I'm going to say if anyone that has to go and we'll stay on and answer as many questions as we can. But if anyone that has to go, if you want to send me an email, I'll make sure if it's a mortgage question that it gets to Sam and Joe and we get you the answers. If it's a real estate question, we'll definitely get back to you. We will send more information out, but I didn't want to miss anyone, and we'll keep going through the questions, and we'll get to yours as soon as we can. Okay, cool. All right, so where are we at? We got TFSA purposely for mortgage. If I prefer to build, can 10% work for me? Okay, so I'm guessing if they're asking if the TFSA can be used towards a mortgage.
Yes, it can.
Okay, and so if you prefer to build, can you do 10% down? So it really depends with the builder. So if you're buying a lot and want to build your own house and are working with a builder that way, you have to buy the lot for cash. It's pretty hard to get a mortgage on vacant land. But if you work with a builder that already has pre-made lots and are doing that way, then you can usually use the 5% down as a first-time home buyer. Okay.
This one's again more up your alley from Mary. Can you please share your honest opinion? So if Canada were to go into recession because of the crisis, what impact would it have on real estate?
That is a very good question. And we have been looking at that every day for the last 2.5 months, and what has been affecting it. So there's always going to be properties selling. There's many reasons why it moves. Do we see right now, we don't see prices falling, right? So prices have held stable from the year before. Even from February and March, we haven't seen them drop. They've been pretty consistent. And again, no one knows what the effect is going to be. Even as they start to open things up, we don't know what job losses there are and what magnitude that is going to affect the real estate market, or every market for that matter. We won't know until everyone's up and going in, who knows, 6 months, 8 months, 18 months. They did say, though, even with the crash in 2008 in the States, it didn't hit Canada as much as it did there. And I think, again, that seems to be happening as well, even with this COVID, in a different way. We're not being hit as hard. But even in the States, it was an 18 month to 3 year period before it turned around. So as a buyer in this market, if you can get a good pre-approval and prices do start to fall a little, even if you bought at the beginning of them falling and they continue to fall maybe $10,000, $15,000 more so after you bought, within 18 months to 3 years, those prices will be back up and then some. And that's kind of what we see in most real estate markets. There's always ebbs and flows with prices, but they're always going up. So even though there was that crash in 2008, those prices were well above where that crashed down to. And we're actually higher than where it was before the crash started. So we don't know the full impact. There will always be houses moving. People are going to need to downsize. People may split with this going on. People will be, in 9 months from now, one of the things we're going to notice is a baby boom. And so people are going to look at upsizing or changing. There's always movement in the market. And right now, if prices do drop a little, it's a great time to capitalize and get into the market, because they will always come back up. It's just a matter of time. Does that answer the question? I hope. You're absolutely welcome to call me separately and have a full conversation back and forth about it if I didn't cover everything as well. Okay, so 10% good to build a house. I think we answered that one.
Mm-hmm.
And we will reach out to Jenny afterwards.
Grace has a question here about rent to own homes. So just wondering if it's true that the interest rate for rent to own homes is higher than the normal interest rates. So that does tend to be case to case, depending on what the rent to own agreement is. I think it can be higher for sure than what we currently see. Anytime you're looking at using the rent to own programs, it's good to just go in eyes wide open, because it is a a rather sort of serious investment that you really have to want the house that you're in a rent to own agreement with, because should you decide to leave, you would lose the money that you've put in, as part of your rent payments towards getting that home. So it is case to case. They are typically higher than normal, but it's really good to reach out to Joe or myself to really get all of the information in getting a rent to own home, so that you're as knowledgeable moving forward. Can someone be qualified for pre-approval if he works outside of Canada? I'm assuming you'd be living in Canada but working outside. For this specific case, I'm not entirely sure. I can reach out to you after this presentation, and chat with Joe to get you a more accurate answer for that question. Yeah. If I reach out to you after the Zoom call here, then we can get that sorted for sure.
Yeah, it's probably a case by case basis too, right? Just
Yes.
on the individual, the company, where it is. So that's awesome. I think we ended up with most of the questions answered. Oh, here we go. One more. Which link are we going to use to sign up for the? There we go. Put it in the chat again. The link
I will
to
send it again.
Make sure everyone has entered into that. There it is, the drop form. Put your info in and we will mail you out a scratch ticket. You can win down payment. That'll help with your pre-approval and get you into a house during this time when all these properties are going to come on the market for us. So it'll be great.
Exactly.
Okay, so again, anytime you need to reach out to us, we'll send you an email after this with the information that Sam mentioned about the worksheet on closing costs and a bunch of the other grant information as well. And we'll get you your scratch tickets, of course, and anytime you have any questions or anything else, please feel free to reach out. We would love to chat with you, and hope everyone stays safe and has a great day. It's sunny out here, and you can go enjoy the rest of the day. And we appreciate you coming and asking such great questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
All right, awesome. Thanks,
Okay.
Sam.
Thanks, Nickey.